All right, kid, let me walk you through the history of Canada and India's relationship. It's more complicated than it seems at first. Now, both countries were once part of the British Empire, so they've got some shared roots. India gained independence in 1947, and Canada, although technically independent earlier, was still part of the Commonwealth. That gave them some common ground to work from. In those early years, things were pretty smooth between the two. They were partners in international forums like the United Nations, and it looked like they'd get along just fine. But not all stories stay simple. Then in the 1970s, things took a turn. India conducted its first nuclear test in 1974 called Smiling Buddha. You'd think it was all smiles, but not for Canada. See, Canada had provided India with nuclear reactors for peaceful purposes, but India used the technology for its test. Canada felt betrayed and suspended nuclear cooperation. That soured things for a long time. But despite the political chill, something else was happening. Canada was seeing an increase in Indian immigrants, particularly Sikhs. They built vibrant communities, especially in British Columbia and Ontario. Now, here's where it gets tricky. The Khalistan movement, which pushed for a separate Sikh state in India, found some support in Canada. That didn't sit well with India at all. By the 1980s, things were getting tense. The assassination of Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi in 1984 by her Sikh bodyguards, and the anti-Sikh riots that followed, fueled the flames. And then came the worst of it, the bombing of Air India Flight 182 in 1985. It was a tragedy, with 329 people killed, most of them Canadians. Sikh extremists linked to the Khalistan movement were behind it, and that shook relations to the core. But life moved on, and so did trade. Canada and India continued to do business, trading things like agricultural products, uranium, and more. But the Khalistan issue never fully went away. Even in the 2000s and 2010s, it kept popping up. Fast forward to 2023, and we hit a major diplomatic crisis. Justin Trudeau, Canada's Prime Minister, accused Indian agents of being involved in the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a Canadian citizen who supported Khalistan. India denied it, but it was enough to cause a major fallout. Diplomats were expelled, and India even stopped issuing visas to Canadians. At the same time, India was becoming a bigger player on the world stage, especially in the Indo-Pacific. And Canada's close ties to the United States put them in a tough spot. Everyone's watching this dispute closely, and now in 2024 things are still tense. Diplomatic expulsions, visa suspensions, it's like a bad argument that just won't end. Both countries have strong ties, but they need to figure this out, or it's going to hurt both of them in the long run. So there you have it. A long history with some ups and downs. It's not just about politics, it's about people, trade, and history all tangled together. Hopefully they find a way to cool things down soon.